When you were little, your favorite cartoons were simply animated shows that were based around comedy or action and usually had some life lesson integrated. A pretty simple formula. But was it all that simple? It turns out there are a lot of people out there that think those childhood classics weren't as straightforward and simple as we often think they were. Cartoon theories that will ruin your childhood. The Smurfs are supremacists. They may live in a utopian forest village, but there are more than a few people who seem to think the Smurfs are nothing more than an allegory for anti Semitic white supremacists. Why? Well, first, they all wear white caps, which are said to be like those worn by the KKK. Papa Smurf, the head Smurf, wears a red cap, much the same way the Grand Dragon of the KKK wears a red outfit. Second, their arch enemy, Gargamel, is depicted in a similar fashion to the way Jews were depicted by the Nazis in the 1930s and 40s. The icing on the cake is that Gargamel's cat is named Azrael, a Hebrew angel of death. Unsmurfin' believable. SpongeBob's hidden meanings. This Nickelodeon series started airing in 1999 and has entertained kids and confused parents ever since. It may have seemed like nonsensical fun at the time, but looking back, there are a few theories that alter the way you might look at SpongeBob. First theory is that every character represents some form of narcotic, as demonstrated by their personality. Hardly a stretch. SpongeBob is said to be on methamphetamine, Patrick uses marijuana, Squidward is hooked on heroin, and Mr. Krabs is a cokehead. If that doesn't seem to fit, there is also a theory floating around that each character represents one of the seven deadly sins. Disney's cocaine princess? Disney is no newcomer to bizarre theories, hidden messages, and scandals. Don't believe us? Just take a look at our other video on hidden messages in popular kids' movies. So, is it really a stretch that the film Snow White is actually about cocaine and drug use? Just think about it for a second. The name Snow White is a clear reference to blow, and each of the dwarves is a reference to the use and symptoms of the drug. Sneezy, sleepy, happy, dopey, grumpy, and bashful. And if things go really badly, you end up requiring a trip to Doc in the emergency room. Scooby-Doo economics. There is a theory that Scooby-Doo is actually a commentary on economic depression and crime. Does it make sense? Well, just think about all the abandoned houses, businesses, and buildings the story takes place in. Furthermore, the criminals always seem to come from respectable professions like professors, curators, and celebrities who are forced into a life of crime, usually because of some economic reason. In the end, the gang show up and save someone from going out of business. Now, if only we knew what those Scooby snacks were a metaphor for. Garfield's hallucinations. He loves lasagna, hates Mondays, and has an owner and a dog named John and Odie. Or does he? Believe it or not, there is a prevailing theory that Garfield's life is all one massive hallucination brought on by loneliness and starvation. As a coping mechanism, Garfield has created an entire world filled with friends, family, and lasagna to compensate for the fact that he is actually living on his own in an abandoned house and slowly starving to death. In fact, a comic strip was even created to demonstrate this theory and shatter the perception of so many people who follow the exploits of this overweight, temperamental feline. The Voodoo Bears. They may seem harmless, but there is one theorist who thinks the Care Bears are all about spreading a voodoo message. For starters, the name Care Bears is somewhat close to the name Carrefour, the district of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, often associated with voodoo. The animated bears often travel on magical ships, possibly a nod to the slave ships which brought practitioners of voodoo to the New World. Finally, the bears each have a symbol on their belly, such as hearts, moons, stars, and suns, which according to theorists link directly to the symbols for the voodoo gods. The Flintstone Jetson universe. Would you believe that the Jetsons and Flintstones were actually taking place at the same point in time? Some have theorized that the two seemingly separate worlds are actually occurring at the same time. According to this theory, the Flintstones takes place on a futuristic post-apocalyptic world where war has destroyed civilization as we know it. The animals are supposedly mutated, and the people have continued to try living a modern lifestyle, which is limited by Stone Age technology. In space, those who escaped the apocalypse now live in the world of the Jetsons. Batman's brain. Vigilante meets superhero. Batman is a very popular character in both the cartoon and live action world. But what if we told you the entire world Batman exists in is simply a figment of his imagination? Yes, there is one notable theory that suggests Bruce Wayne was so traumatized and damaged by the murder of his parents that the entire crime saga only exists in his head. In fact, in this scenario, each villain he fights merely represents his struggle with a particular inner demon. Two-Face represents his struggle to balance Bruce with Batman. Mr. Freeze is Bruce's inability to maintain a meaningful long-term relationship, and the Joker is a relentless reminder of the senselessness of his parents' murder. We wonder what Poison Ivy represents. A rash he just can't get rid of? Simpsons' ominous predictions. This animated series has been around so long that many people think the writers and crew have actually predicted major political, sporting, and world events. If you're into conspiracy theories, then you'll love the 1997 episode The City of New York versus Homer Simpson. As you'd expect, the family goes to the Big Apple, and in one scene we see the cover of a magazine which has the price of $9 next to the outline of the Twin Towers, creating an eerie 9/11 reference. Many think it's just an absurd coincidence, but what a coincidence. So, are you convinced? Let us know what you think about these theories down below, and maybe even think about subscribing or giving us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.